I was told that you, grew up near one of the first Chipotles. Is that right?
Yeah, that is correct. I'm a Denver native and grew up pretty close to the first location right there by the University of Denver. So I've been following this name for quite some time.
Okay, so you knew that was going to be your future. Okay, so RJ,
yeah.
Seeing what's happened here and that we still don't know the source, right? I mean, this is what was so fascinating about this Business Week article, is that it detailed just how complicated it's been for Chipotle to figure out through its supply chain what the source is of this E. coli infection. Can this company recover? How are they going to recover from this?
Yeah, I think the question is, yes, they can recover, but I think you're exactly right. I think getting to the source of what the issue was is critical here. I think once consumers find out what the source was and the company can more directly address what they're going to do about food safety, I think that's critical here. And that's when the clock starts ticking in terms of the recovery process. Typically, these things don't recover until you get the all clear from whatever the governing body would be, so the CDC in North America or other regulatory bodies. Once we have that clarity over to what happened, I think consumers will be a little bit more forgiving. Now, in terms of what they can do to bring people back in the restaurants, I think it's going to be a handful of things. I think it's going to be food safety marketing, and the company's already started to do that, but I think more specifically what they're doing to regulate their supply chain, potentially get rid of problem suppliers and other potential at-risk situations. I think you also see some promotional efforts. I think you'll see some free food giveaways. And then, one of the things that you might start to see, a company does have a couple secondary brands, so Shop House Asian Kitchen or Pizzeria Locale. They're very small parts of the business right now, but I could see them start to market some of those and get people reminded that this isn't just a Chipotle store anymore. It's a multiple brand story.
Okay, right, but they've got to get it right at this point. And one of the criticisms is that the company hasn't explained enough to consumers what's going on. And, for instance, Steve Ells, the founder, his last really public comment about this was way back in December 18th. Where he said, food safety. Guys, let's bring up that tweet. Nothing is more important to me than serving my guests food that is safe. But this is from December 18th. Shouldn't they be out there every day or at least more frequently updating customers?
Yeah, I think that's certainly something that they probably could have done a better job on, is being out there in front of just the everyday consumer as opposed to the financial community. I think when the Boston situation hit, the norovirus situation hit, they were out at a conference, and I think that potentially they could have been out, up in Boston, addressing any fears there. Yeah, I think right now, to them, I think as I mentioned, that the critical thing here is that they need to figure out what the source of the issue was. At that point, then they can better educate consumers. Right now, any promises they make without having that issue, at least what the source is, will just ring hollow with consumers, and I think traffic will continue to suffer as a result.
Right. I mean, we already know the fourth quarter is going to be, one of its first declines, if not its first decline in comp sales ever. Is there a timeline here, though, RJ? I mean, the stock's already down 30%. What if this drags on for another 6 months?
Yeah, and it very well could, too. And until we have resolution over what really happened behind the scenes here, I think it will continue language. I think the fourth quarter guidance the company put out on December 4th, talking about comps declining 8 to 11%, EPS of 245 to 285, that's shot now. There's no way they're going to meet that number. You're probably talking about mid-teen declines in comparable store sales, and I've got an EPS of $1.75. Now, the question becomes next year, what happens there? I still think you're talking about double-digit declines in same-store sales, at least in the first quarter, and potentially not even reaching positive comps until the end of the year, maybe even as late as the fourth quarter. It all depends on when we have some clarity over what really happened, and then you start to build that trust back with consumers through increased food safety marketing.